I think, gentlemen, that we can't underestimate maybe the fear and the terror that these two girls were going through.
Do you think they drove this road at night again? Or probably stuck to it only during daytime hours after this?
Well, you don't know what's behind you. Is it somebody that's some maniacal person that was riding a motorcycle and stacked another light on top of it? Or was this something of extraterrestrial nature?
I was going to tell you guys, I watched that S4 Bob Lazar thing on Amazon Prime just earlier this afternoon.
Woo-wee! It's freaking good.
Yeah.
It is one of the best things I've ever seen, Pat.
I have yet to see it, but if Bob Lazar is involved, I definitely need to watch it.
Do you have any experience going on a UFO adventure, like looking for them yourself?
Yeah, we got stuck in a ditch looking for them.
Oh,
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's all my dad's fault.
really? It always is, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were looking for some UFOs, of course, in the stars, and we ran into a ditch, and we had to call our neighbors to pull us out. And yeah, we were freezing cold that night outside.
Fasten your seatbelts. This is going to be a wild ride on a lonely, desolate highway, Highway 26. Let's talk UFOs.
My friend and I were driving back to WSU after being on the west side for the weekend. The moon wasn't visible at all, and the road was pitch black except for the light of my headlights. No cars were in the way, and we were only ones driving on the highway at the time. I couldn't see anything, and in my rear view mirror for miles, then all of a sudden out of nowhere, an orange oval fireballish light appeared. I assumed it was a motorcycle pulling onto the road and off again an adjoining dirt road. But that wasn't the case. I watched it for about a mile in my mirror. Then all of a sudden, a second light appeared, stacked on top of it.
And I asked her to look back and see if she could see it too, because no vehicle has lights that are stacked like that. She looked back and she saw it as well, so she knows I wasn't crazy. The top light went out, and the one light that was left, we kept watching it. And we kept driving, we watched it, and it seemed to gain immense speed and would seem to be about 20 feet behind my car. Then it would back off real fast, and it kept playing this chasing game for many miles. Then as soon as a car approached from the other direction, the light would go dark as it passed our car every time.
So about every 5 or 10 minutes, it would reappear after another car passed in the opposite lane. But only 3 to 5 cars passed in the other lane our whole 3-hour trip. When the other cars would pass by us, I asked my passenger to look back and see if she could see something in the headlights of the other cars, but nothing was ever seen. I was completely alert this whole trip, took no drugs, and had a passenger who saw everything that I saw. Everything that I saw that I just mentioned above. I would really love an explanation, or at least some insight, if possible. I know I'm not crazy, and this was the first time I've ever been approached by something that seems to fit a supernatural category. I think, gentlemen, that we can't underestimate maybe the fear and the terror that these two girls were going through, and the reluctance to report this case, and then also probably not being able to tell anybody about it. There's just a lot going on. What are your thoughts? I don't know. Who wants to start first?
This would have been perfect for Art Bell.
I think so.
I feel like this is something that we would have heard on Art Bell had they had maybe the knowledge to call in. Crooks, what do you think?
Pat, I'm trying to think about, these are college-age students. Do you think they drove this road at night again? Or probably stuck to it only during daytime hours after this? I'd probably be a little freaked out to get back on that road, especially if I was alone.
Well, you don't know what's behind you. Is it somebody that's some maniacal person that was riding a motorcycle and stacked another light on top of it? Or was this something of extraterrestrial nature? I don't know. That's a good question. I wouldn't probably be traveling it at night. No, I'd be concerned that if it were to follow me again, because what happens if you get a flat tire? I mean, or you have to stop. I know there's any number of possibilities that run through my head. You know, my imagination probably could run away with me. I think of all the movies that I've watched over the years, like The Hitchhiker and various other movies. You know, you don't ever want to be on the side of the road. It never works out for those people.
I think you're on the right track, Pat. What is that movie where they're driving down the road and they hit something, and it's basically this demon that sort of like rises out of this pile? What is the name of that movie?
I don't know, but I don't like the scenario.
I don't know if
like this scenario.
Yeah, it's I can't remember, but I could find out later. What are we? I guess what I feel like I'm not communicating very well is, like, it just seems like a really terrifying situation with everything that could go wrong. 2 female students that late at night, the road is that desolate, and this thing is acting so anonymously, this light playing cat and mouse. And then when the passenger looks back, you can't see anything. I mean, Crooks, have you run into a case in your life where it's like you weren't able to identify like a car behind you for possibly 3 hours?
I can't say that that's happened to me exactly. I feel, you know, we've been driving for many years. We're pretty good at identifying what kind of vehicle is behind you based off, you know, the pattern of the lights. You can tell if it's a truck or a car, but something that is changing constantly to disguise what it is kind of a terrifying thought.
Absolutely terrifying. I couldn't even imagine what that would be like especially for driving that length of time, and in the middle of nowhere. And there's a lot of times where there is no cell. And this was back when again? What was the date on this?
2008, I believe.
Okay, so
yeah.
The cell phone, and I remember this. You know, cell phone coverage is a little spotty. You'll go, you know, long periods of time without any cell service on Highway 26. So that's something to keep in mind too. If people getting freaked out, it'd be easy to do, because I would probably be looking back at my phone, just waiting for a service to come back. Man, yeah, pretty wild stuff. I will say too, there's a lot more of this as well. You know, NUFORC is a wealth of information of these types of sightings, and the opportunity that you have to go and search for it too. And that's a whole nother, I mean, you could spend hours just talking about the search component, but it is something to explore on one person's own time.
Yeah, Crooks pointed out, go to NUFORC.org. Clicking on the map is a lot easier to get some UFO sightings near your area. And I think most of you folks will be blown away with how much did happen nearby and didn't make the newspapers.
Oh, for sure. There's so many in North Central Washington that I never would have thought of. And, you know, right in the area of the Quad Cities where Crooks and I grew up, spent our formative years, there was stuff happening that we would have never known about. So that's interesting.
Many stories. And the UFO tree has many branches that could branch off into the paranormal, into the psionic, into the non-human, into interdimensional. We just don't know where it takes us. Crooks, we talked offline a little bit about just your little anomalous experience. I can give the anomalous experience that was told to me on Highway 26, but can you talk about your story that you had a pretty close, I guess encounter wouldn't be the right word to use on a UFO podcast, but you came pretty close to getting an accident that night.
Yeah, this would have been in eastern Washington, just north of a little town called Reardon. Definitely no UFO involved, but a desolate, dark, lonely road at night. And I was fortunate that a car passed me in a no passing zone, we'll say. It was in a sketchy little curvy canyon. And I'm thankful that station wagon passed me, because I would have drove right into a black cow that was standing right in the middle of the road. I was able to see the station wagon like hit the side of the cow as it was merging back into the appropriate lane. But there was a good chance I would have slammed right into that thing. So not a UFO story, but a desolate road, spooky story.
Yeah, where you were so close, those chain of events had to occur in order for you to stay safe. Pat, is there anything that comes to mind in your experiences that might relate to something, even if it's just remotely anomalous or just even just eerie feeling you got one night? Does anything come to mind?
So I haven't exactly experienced what Crooks has in that regard, but I do understand, eerie feelings that kind of can come across when you are in certain places where you almost have a feeling that something had happened at that place. Like I've been to, a state mental hospital near there, and you just kind of feel the energetic fields just kind of really jumping out there and being like, something doesn't feel right or something happened here or in that. But I think that's probably the closest I can say that I felt to something like you're describing.
Pat, I wanted to throw something at you. I know you're out of town tonight, joining us remotely from Phoenix, Arizona.
Correct.
I want to challenge you to maybe, before you go to bed tonight, step outside and imagine looking out across the valley, putting yourself in those shoes of those people that saw that incident with the Phoenix lights many years ago.
And I will do that. So I was going to present this. This is a hypothetical situation. I'm going to let people decide which one of these things is true. Am I here for a competitive cheer competition, or am I here to meet with Tom King to talk about the Phoenix lights? Now, I'm going to leave that up to everybody out there. Which of those things are true? Please comment. I'd like to see your comments and see which one of those you think is happening here. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I here for that, or am I here to meet with the one and only Tom King?
Geez, Pat, knowing you over the years, I think you would be like, I'm gonna get the best bang for my buck, and you would plan both those. So I don't know if that's an answer. It sounds like one of my 5th grade students where they always find that middle answer.
Yeah, it could be both. Both of the things could be true.
Yeah, my money's on both. Pat's a multitasker. He's going to get the bang for his buck. He's going to do it all, see it all. You make the most out of that trip.
Yeah, if you're coming to the desert, you want to be able to experience as much as humanly possible. Man, I love the greater Maricopa County. Like I love this place.
Yeah, I think all three of us, there's something down there. Our buddy Matt Troutman. Shout out to Matt. He's in Chandler. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's in Chandler.
Yeah, so there's something about the area, even beyond, the UFO sightings I've been seen down there with Sedona as a hot spot, and then Travis Walton being in Snowflake, Arizona, and the Phoenix Lights, and quite a bit of other anomalous events that took place down there. It's a cool area. It's beautiful. I love the desert.
Yeah, supposedly Sedona's in a vortex.
Yeah, that's as crazy as these things sound. I think we have to at least acknowledge that there is possibilities here in these different areas. And that's where I was trying to stretch out with regarding what things could be. Whitley Strieber, we've talked about him a few times, right? Whitley Strieber, he wrote the book Communion. He collected all the letters that people sent to him, or his wife did, and that people sent to him after he wrote that book. And she kind of categorized them and found the main themes. And she said, honey, I think one of the main themes here that we're overlooking is that this has to do with death, has to do with the afterlife as well. I'm just speculating about the Highway 26 incident. Sadly, there's lots of stories that road gets really dangerous in the winter, and there's been a lot of kids that have lost their lives on that road. Any possibilities that this is coming from that realm? It seems like maybe they're distracting the driver. Maybe they're trying to slow him down. Like in Crooks' case, he got slowed down a little bit. Something similar happened to my cousin Jason Johnson, Buffalo Jones. Pat knows him very well. I think Crooks has met him. Jason was in Colorado, and he was driving to his girlfriend's house, and there was this part of the road that you lose sight of because of the way it kind of, is a kind of a rolling road, and he always went way too fast over that part. And he said right before that spot, a deer popped in front of him, but you could see it coming. He said that the deer trotted real slow to almost pace Jason to a speed of like 10 to 15 miles per hour, led him to that blind spot. And in that blind spot was a broken down or jackknife semi. Jason's like, I would have ran right into that thing. And this deer guided me, or at least slowed me down. Could have been coincidence, could have been something else, but I'll get in my Highway 26 story as well, told to me by my friend. I'll keep him anonymous, but I feel that he is a credible source. He was returning from a concert in, I think it was Tri-Cities on Highway 26, fast asleep in the passenger seat, has a vivid dream about a deer jumping in front of a car. He gets startled and is like, wakes up. The driver's like, whoa, what? He slows down about 20 miles an hour. And the passenger's like, I just had a dream that we hit a deer. And then right when he says that, a deer trots across the road safely, but if they were going faster, possibly would have hit it. So anyway, I just said quite a bit, but basically I'm being like, I'm trying to put out there to you guys, because even the person that reported this was like, this is the first paranormal. So she categorized it as paranormal, but then she sent it into NUFORC. So
interesting. You know, another term for that is spirit guides. You familiar with that one?
I am, yeah. I recently looked into that a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so basically spirit guides could be referred to as non-physical beings, which could be ancestors, angels, or other people, or other, non-physical beings believed to offer guidance, protection, and wisdom to individuals throughout their lives. So I've heard that one thrown around, and that makes sense to me. You have something that intervened on your behalf that almost like rearranged the board and shuffled the pieces to benefit that person in that moment.
Yeah, Pat, what is the character or the lady that played Blossom? Is it Mayim?
Mayim Bialik, yeah. And Mayim Bialik, she's a neuroscientist. We know her as Blossom, and they also know her as Amy Farrah Fowler from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, she had a guest that talked about spirit guides the whole time.
Okay, nice. So I would say, she's an interesting one because she was, a famous child actor, and then she just dropped out of the public eye and decided to go to Stanford and basically get her PhD and become a neuroscientist. And so she did that for a while. And then she got married and had kids, then went back to acting. And then, she's been tackling a lot more of these topics too on her podcast. So, it's an interesting listen as well. But no, it's cool that you referenced that with the spirit guides, because I feel like it normalizes it a little bit more. It's definitely a topic people know of, but I feel like Mayim Bialik has a way of bringing it more to a mainstream audience, because there's a lot of like passive fans that came from The Big Bang Theory that would, I imagine, watch her podcast.
Yeah, she does really well. I feel like we're in a Crooks drought. Crooks.
Yeah, we need to
need you.
We need to get you back here in the mix about this, but
I'm curious, fellas, how did these two young girls even know to reach out to NUFORC to report this? Is it common knowledge amongst young people that a resource like that even exists? How'd they even discover it?
I would think no way, Crooks, but that's a good question, because they must have been so, I think, disturbed by what happened. They're like, we got to tell somebody.
Oh, and I enjoy that in the sense of like, it always leads back to Peter Davenport. In this, like, people are genuinely freaked out. They don't know what to do. So they're going to go to Art Bell or they're going to go to Peter Davenport. That's kind of seems to be the case if you look within the time frames. Would you say that Peter Davenport is one of Art Bell's greatest guests, like most consistent experts?
I'm certain that I would be curious to know how many appearances he ever made on his program. I'm sure that
he's got to be one of the top guests to ever be featured on Art Bell for this topic.
I would say so.
Yeah, because there's got to be like, I'm sure there's not an official Hall of Fame for Art Bell guests, But if there was a Hall of Fame, he would be first ballot. Peter Davenport would be first ballot Hall of Famer. I just don't see it any other way. But getting back to this, it is interesting though how kind of all trails do lead back to NUFORC. So if you can get a chance to go out there and visit the website and look around and poke around a little bit, I think you'll find some interesting information and some sightings that occurred in the area that you're from, or you know somebody's from, that you would have had no idea that this was even happening. And NUFORC's been in the trenches for decades and decades doing this stuff. So shout out to them for all the hard work they've put in to keep all this stuff in an information database.
Well said, Pat. Yeah. What we know about Davenport is that he pretty much is a one-man show so he shouldered a lot of that over the decades, and I'm sure plenty of ridicule and doubt from people, but
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of hard work and effort put into that over the decades. So we appreciate him.
Most definitely.
Guys,
yeah.
I was going to tell you guys, I watched that S4 Bob Lazar thing on Amazon Prime just earlier this afternoon.
Woo-wee. It's freaking good.
Yeah.
It is one of the best things I've ever seen, Pat.
I have yet to see it, but if Bob Lazar is involved, I definitely need to watch it.
Crooks, break it down, man. Break it down.
Ooh, well, it's pretty much, the whole story. I mean, George Knapp and Bob Lazar broke that story in 1989. Bob Lazar came forward saying that he was working at S4, a secret base, within the Area 51 compound. And he said there was 9 UFOs, 9 craft, and he just had to get that story public. So he kind of risked everything to go public with it. But at some point, he almost needed to protect himself. He was starting to tell people about it. He took some people on a tour one night to watch one of the UFOs fly. So they were on to him, and he had to go public basically to protect himself.
And he paid for it too. I mean, it makes you wonder though, had he not gone public with it, would he have ultimately paid for his life with it? I mean, I'm curious to know. There's a lot of interesting things that happen to people, accidental things that occur to people.
I think so, Pat. He details the close calls that he did have. Wasn't he cruising around in near Vegas, Crooks, and somebody he thought took a shot at him. And then he said he ended up with a flat tire in that situation on some on-ramp to I-15, like right there near downtown Las Vegas.
That's dangerous. That's a dangerous area.
Yeah, him and his buddy would get out of the gym, go back to their car. All the doors would be open. Trunk would be open. Nothing would be stolen.
It's almost like people wanted him to know that they were there. Just enough to mess with the guy psychologically.
Yeah, they brought him in. And intimidated him, and they let him know. And this is a part where he got pretty choked. He got choked up enough to where he kind of had to stop talking. But I think the reason he was sketched out because they started, I think, taking his shifts away. So he's like, oh man, something's going wrong here. So I got to bring my buddies out to look. But they had been reducing the shifts because they'd been tapping his phones, and his wife was having an affair. So they were pulling back a little bit, suspecting that Bob was about ready to go through a hard time. So they show him the transcript of his wife, what she had been saying to like a pilot, right? Or maybe it was somebody that taught people how to fly. Mm-hmm. So that was the chain of events of like why Bob Lazar came forward. But man, they dropped 3 really good interviews with Lazar. First Rogan, then Ramsey on Area 52, and then today, American Alchemy, Jesse Michaels, 3-hour interview with Bob Lazar. But Pat, this thing is so detailed. Every single thing had to get approved by Bob. Because I think the complaint is, like, think of what Travis Walton went through when he came forward and Hollywood did his movie with Fire in the Sky. He's like, it's way off. the gist of it, he said, was okay. But Bob Lazar, I don't know if Crooks, you saw any of the interviews, he's like, it's like I was there. He's like, it was just so real to every single detail. Like, one of the details that blows my mind is like the reactor, like think of a half of a basketball, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
He would try to, his buddy Barry, his partner, was so excited when he came in. He's like, all right, try to touch this thing. And he said about 8 inches out from it, there was a little bit of a malleability, but he could not touch it. He said that's like a force field. It's not like electromagnetic stuff. And the weird part was, you know how when you take two same charge magnets and it will move the other magnet, it wasn't moving the reactor. He said it was like it canceled almost like its gravity. Like it was like anti-gravity to a very specific level. Basically how the craft would work, it would like take a scoop out of space-time, and because the saucer, they could fly it. They could test fly it. And he saw it. It was like they were taking a scoop out of space-time, and the craft would fall into that empty space. So it's like the opposite of what we have. Everything we have shoots something out of the back of it, and it's like it propels it. This thing's the opposite. It's scooping out space-time. And then Crooks, the chunk of element 115, they said lasts for 30 years, and it's the size of a little triangle.
Yeah, that seemed amazing that they could just hold it in their hands. And, you know, you'd imagine that this would be some highly toxic, radioactive, you know, element that would be dangerous. But here these guys were just pulling it out of that reactor and just looking at it. But I think they mentioned in the show today that that element had not yet been discovered on Earth, or if they were able to synthesize it, it wouldn't last very long, just for milliseconds, and then it would destroy itself or something. So
yeah, the isotope they discovered in a particle collider, it was element 115, but it was an unstable isotope. But Bob Lazar said what they had was a stable version. And I don't know how they determined it could last for 30 years. Maybe it had been in their possession for 30 years and they've been using it for just incredible, though. Inside the craft, Pat, the seats were what they think were seats, but the inside had like no buttons, no wires. It looked like it had been, Crooks, help me out here, maybe what are the things, 3D printed to all the same just mold. But the seats were so only like a child could fit in the seats.
Pretty amazing stuff. I will say too, with Bob Lazar, his story is probably one of the most consistent stories of its kind.
Yeah.
When you go through all the interviews, you watch them all, you know, he's been featured on, and it's essentially the same story, which I feel like lends to his credibility. Because sometimes when you see interviews, different interviews with people, sometimes the stories will morph and change, and not the case with Bob Lazar. So, I mean, he's one of the most, I say, believable.
That's been exactly, Pat. That's been pointed out by multiple podcast interviewers. And Crooks, our map guy, what do you think about that photo the guy took of S4? And they were able to, because he said there was 9 doors, they were able to kind of play with the contrast and stuff. Crooks, can you talk? Do you remember that part?
I do remember that part.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. This S4 area, the whole Area 51 area, Pat, you're aware is off limits to the public. Like nobody's allowed in there. They described that a pilot like flew over the site, you know, and luckily didn't get shot down, but they had some high-powered, high-resolution camera, and they snapped some photographs, you know, over the area in that Palouse Lake area with the S4 specifically. So there was a photograph that these guys were playing with the contrast, and they were trying. You could almost see these doors that Bob Lazar was talking about that are made to look like the hillside or made to look like the sand, because these are big hangar doors. It's precisely where the UFOs are located, he said.
Wow.
And you can see the doors, Pat. You can see there's 9 of them in the exact spot that he said. So talking about that credibility over time. One other detail, Pat, I think you would love, kind of a Stranger Things-esque type situation where he said when he walked into like the hallway where there were other like laboratory rooms, and they, I think it's Luigi Vendittelli. Is he the director? He created that hallway not through AI. He said AI was just like the finishing touch. This was like very detailed CGI work over 3 years. He said the hallway almost had the look of like an endless ocean. Like it just went so far that you can't even see anymore. Like a hallway so long under that mountain out right on the edge of Palouse Lake. He said he only went like two or three doors down, and the rest he doesn't know what those doors were, what those rooms were. It's just completely beyond fascinating. I watched it twice, Crooks. I'm like, this thing needs to be studied because it's just so well done. Every single detail in that documentary was looked over with a fine-tooth comb.
Wow. There's a lot of publicity about Bob Lazar right now, specifically because of this new S4 release. There's folks at work that have been talking about it for a whole week. There's like 4 or 5 people that are like running up asking me, have you seen it yet? Have you seen it yet? So there's a lot of interest out there in this name.
Yeah.
And I've toyed with suggesting a Lazar, episode on our show, but it's just a huge topic. I mean, I don't know if we're quite ready to do it.
I mean, we're diving into it now, and I think we got to do it, Crooks. That's the next one. Let's do it. If we can get Pat's stamp of approval as well.
You always have my stamp of approval when it comes to Bob Lazar.
Yeah, you've been pro Bob Lazar the first episode.
Oh yeah, I've been since the beginning. That interview with Bob Lazar and Joe Rogan was kind of my deeper introduction into the topics that we've been exploring throughout all of our lessons. So really, I credit that particular podcast as one that really kind of jumped off my potential interest in the subject. So yes, when it comes to Bob Lazar, I'm always game because I think he's a fascinating character. And you look at just all the things that have occurred along the way, and that he stayed really steadfast in his messaging, and the fact that it would have been easy just to disappear. I mean, if I were Bob Lazar, I might want to just go to some remote part in Vermont or Maine and never be seen again, and be perfectly content with never being seen again. But he hasn't done that. Hasn't hid in the shadows. He's always maintained a presence regarding this topic. So
do you know where he currently resides, Pat?
I don't.
It's
pretty remote. Yeah, it's pretty remote. You're along the right train of thought there, Pat, but he picked some isolated mountainous region in southern Oregon. He's not too far from Crater Lake, I think.
Sisters?
Yeah. He's in Oregon.
Okay, well, that would be a great place to go then. So what is by Crater Lake out in that direction?
Well, he's out there in his lab, and his wife has the horses, and he is still trying to, he does his thing, has his own business, but he's still trying to figure out, because he's like, he just wants to know what they did figure out, because he was only there for 6 months and he didn't get the answers. He wanted to know, like, he's convinced that this was a non-earthly craft, but he wanted to know how far they got on the reverse engineering process. Like, what did they figure out? I mean, this craft is amazing. Pat, he talks about one part where, I don't know, Crooks, like, here's the thing. We're going to UFO Fest, Crooks and I. Pat, it's not looking good, but I think there's still hope. There's possibility that Pat can make it to UFO Fest. So UFO Fest is a festival down in McMinnville, Oregon. I think they're running on their, like, 30th anniversary, inspired from the Trent family farm sighting that made the front cover of Time magazine, I think, in 1950. But Crooks and I got a teaser, or I shared it with Crooks, and Pat, I'll tell you about it now. Jeremy Corbell is on the guest list. They announced that now George Knapp will be attending, and they said there's a guest so popular, so big, that they have to keep it under wraps. I'm like, please let it be Bob Lazar. That place will just blow up. The crowd will just go wild.
Are they just going to hold with the surprise until the person walks out on stage?
He did that down in Austin, Texas. He showed up to Jesse Michaels and Chris Ramsey's event that they held, and Lazar showed up unannounced, and the place went berserk.
Wild. Well, stay tuned for that one. That if you're going to bring the house down, that's the guy to do it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again this week, folks. We appreciate your patronage and all your views. Yeah, give us a like, a subscribe. Tell somebody that might be interested in these topics, to check us out. Because we love investigating them and we love sharing them. So,
well, and we're trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber range. I'm confident we're going to get there with the views and the hours watched, but getting to 1,000 subscribers is the ultimate goal with this. So we're definitely on our way within the time period, within a year's time. But as many subscriptions and likes and all the things, it all makes a difference along the way. So, all right, gentlemen, I guess we're going to wrap things. I really appreciate your time. Tone, Crooks, what have we done today?
Continuing to dive down any rabbit hole that comes across our path. I'm loving it, guys. Thank you so much, Mr. Dundas, my friend Pat, Mr. Crooks, my friend Brian. I appreciate you guys. It's been a fun journey. Let's keep on trucking.
All right. And what did we talk about today? We talked about
UFOs. You know that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I want to wrap with. Put it in the beginning and talk about it in the end as well.
In the end. Hey, Pat, can you keep recording? Bejani wanted to say hi on camera real quick.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
Hi, welcome to the show.
hi.
I was supposed to ask you on a scale from 1 to 10, on a weird scale, 1 being the least amount of weird to 10 being the most weird. Where's your dad on that scale?
200 maybe, like
200.
like somewhere around there.
200. I thought maybe you were going to be like, 6.
No,
5.5.
200.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the case with most dads, honestly. They're always weirdos for their kids.
Do you have any experience going on a UFO adventure, like looking for them yourself?
Yeah. We got stuck in a ditch looking for them.
Oh,
Yeah. Uh-huh. It was all my dad's fault.
really? It always is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but you're safe though. You made it out of that situation. Everybody was okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan.
What's up?
Tell us more about that incidents where you were looking for ETUs, not ETUs, that would be funny, right? But looking for extraterrestrials, and you wound up in a ditch. Tell me more about that.
Well, we were looking for some UFOs, of course, in the stars, and we ran into a ditch, and we had to call our neighbors to pull us out. And yeah, we were freezing cold that night outside.
Wow,
It was
okay.
pretty bad.
Was it your neighbors directly across the street? I hope
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. It
Okay,
was
good. Brandon Chapman's a reliable individual, so good
Mhm.
call.
This happened recently, last month or something?
Well, yeah, I'd say pretty recently.
Well, y'all made it on the other side. That's what's most important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm glad to
Glad he
see your
pulled us
shirt
up.
says Go Cougs, because I have been in the greater Phoenix area, and today alone I've had 3 Go Cougs.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yep. So, but you guys are in the heart of the Palouse right now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it works out well. That's what I got my Cougar shirt on too. So go Cougs.
Okay. Go Cougs.